Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into Green Dot Daily, Action Network's daily sports betting show. Brendan Glasheen in for Maria Marino on this Friday. We have a lot to get to on this Friday show. Thanks for watching live on the Action Network app. Also on the Action Network YouTube page. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. You'll get that little ding anytime we get anything up on our page. So thanks for being here with us. We have a lot to get to, as I said. We've got Stanley Cup Final Game 4. Matchup preview with Tim Kalinowski and Nick Martin coming later in the show. Sean Koerner is going to stop by for a look on the diamond, a potential MLB prop, and also a check-in on the Euros with Nick Giffen. But first, Game 4 of the NBA Finals is tonight between the Celtics and the Mavericks. Celtics lead the series 3-0, a chance to sweep. We're going to start talking MVP, and here is the look at the odds movement throughout the course of these NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown close to 7-1, closed just before Game 1 around plus 600. Jason Tatum, there's some movement there. He's been killing it in the rebounds and the assists particular stat category, so he's in there. And of course, there's Luka heading in. He was right up there with the other two guys, but of course with the 3-0 hole, Luka now 30-1 as we enter this Game 4. Let's welcome in our two NBA guests. We have Sean Little and Chris Raybon. Gents, thanks for stopping by. So, Raybon, I'll turn to you first, and let's get this straight. You are on Jaylen Brown. You were on Jaylen Brown before the series started. Now you're trying to present a case where if the Celtics handle this tonight, if they handle this in 5 or 6, wherever you're going with this, there's a path for Jason Tatum. How and why?
Yeah, so I was screaming to everybody, bet Jaylen Brown. He was the guy that was mispriced before the series started. So now we're looking at a situation where that has kind of come to fruition. Brown has outplayed Tatum thus far in the series. However, Tatum still has a path, even if Boston takes care of business tonight, because he's only 8 points behind Jaylen Brown. And just like Jaylen Brown was mispriced before Game 1, I think Tatum at plus 260 around there at most books is a little mispriced as well, because he's 8 points behind Brown. He's got 8 more rebounds than Brown and 5 more assists. Now Brown, does have more steals and blocks, but if Tatum is able to have a big scoring game, go over 30 again, and Brown, maybe is in the teens, and Boston wins, does more steals and blocks only, is that enough? I don't know. I think, and especially if Tatum has the big game in a closeout game. So there's a realistic path, and I think it's a lot better than, the implied odds at, plus 250, plus 260. And then you also have some interesting kind of ways to go about this. Number one, if you got a Brown ticket, you could use Tatum as a hedge. You could go in the Action Network hedging calculator and actually guarantee yourself a pretty decent profit either way if either of them wins it. You could also bet Tatum and parlay it with the Mavericks to win Game 4, because the deeper the series goes, the better chance Tatum, who was the favorite before the series began, has a chance to kind of overtake Brown and right that shooting, because I think that's really the thing. It's Tatum shooting 36% from the field. So I think there's a lot of things to do this. And also, if you're on the Mavs before the series started and you feel like, oh man, I was just dead wrong about that, well, you have a chance now to bet Tatum at MVP. And Boston, no one's ever come back from the 3-0. So whether it happens tonight, whether it happens in 5, 6, 7, you have a shot at plus 260 for the guy that was favored before the series started to better than 50-50 to win. Now you're getting them at plus 260. So you might be able to kind of recoup some of those losses that you had with Dallas. So a lot of different angles there. But if you're ever going to bet Tatum, I think now would be the time.
Okay, very good. So how about you, Sean Little, and Jaylen Brown? Minus 360 right now. The favorite, Tatum plus 260. You mentioned Luka. You can find him 30-1, 25-1. Sean, any interest in dabbling here on Tatum, Luka, or even Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, a lot of great points by Raybon there. I think if you listen to Raybon and bet Brown pre-series start, this is an easy hedge. You sit back, relax, because I think Boston ends up winning the series in a fairly short manner. Now, if you believe Dallas is going to extend this series, that's the only way I think you should be printing a ticket on MVP for Jason Tatum at this price. If you think it's going to go into 6 games, it's just a lot more time for Tatum to recoup. Big thing here is this is not like you're voting for MVP of the league, right? There's only 9 votes. Jaylen Brown won 5-4 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Matt Moore, our guy, is on site. He's talking to voters. Right now, currently, everyone is leaning Jaylen Brown's way from the information that Matt Moore is getting on site in Dallas. So from my perspective, the market is pretty dead. I think that it's too expensive to bet Jaylen Brown if you're just trying to get into the market right now. And I think Tatum we would have to hope on Jaylen Brown to have a big time dud, which he hasn't had in quite some time, by the way. And then Jason Tatum to have a massive game where he had, and efficiently, that he hasn't really had yet either. So there are 2 different things would have to happen for Jaylen Brown to be out of the running, in my opinion. At halftime of the previous game, Tatum was the favorite -145. Jaylen Brown had a massive fourth quarter and swung it. I think if you're looking at this at like a heavyweight fight, Raybon, right now it's 3-0, maybe Jaylen Brown. So I think something drastic would have to happen in 4 or the 5th game for Brown to lose this MVP.
I mean, but Sean, the one thing is, you kind of mentioned it though. 2 quarters ago, literally 2 quarters ago, Jason Tatum was at better odds than he posed like before game 1. So that just shows you how much these things swing. Like, that's why I think, yeah, everyone's leading Jaylen Brown now, but how often do we get the opportunity to bet on the team's best player, quote unquote, because we've talked about this ad nauseum. But how often do we get this opportunity where we go from -145 to +260 in 2 quarters, but he still has a shot. He's still the best player. He was still the guy expected to win before the series started. He is the better shooter. You know, like, there's a lot of things here. I just think it's an opportunity that you usually don't get in a spot like this. So that's why I think I like dabbling on Tatum, but I get it. You know, Jaylen Brown is the big favorite, which I did expect, but yeah, I think it's worth it to dabble on Tatum. That's all. That's where we differ.
Brown and Tatum both averaging just under 4 turnovers per game. Brown has the edge in steals and blocks. I know, Raybon, you may have mentioned that, but and then the other one is the rebounds and the assists. Tatum has that edge. And the field goal percentage, they're both not shooting it great from 3, but from just a general field goal percentage standpoint, Brown has the edge at 55%. So there's your MVP outlook heading into a game 4 tonight. Quickly, let's hit on Dallas. Look, Luka Doncic fouls out with about 4 minutes left in game 3. Is there an angle to take on Luka tonight? We'll get into best bets in a moment here, but anything here, Raybon, from a Luka standpoint that can be had?
I mean, triple double. You know, like I mean, it's Luka, man. Like he's a beast. I don't, you know, from a betting angle, is there no like this is all narrative driven. I mean, listen, does he have to come out and play big tonight after letting his team down, literally sitting on the floor, yelling at his coaches, yelling at the refs? I mean, was he not playing hard before? I think it's actually going to be tough for him because it's only a 1 day. I know they're at home, but it's only a 1 day layoff. He's been getting targeted on defense. Right. He's tired. You saw it in the sloppy plays, the missed easy shots. You saw it in he is putting his body out there, and for better or worse. And of all people, Jaylen Brown drawing fouls on him and things. So I just think I don't think he has anything to prove tonight. Now, if he proves something tonight and then 3 more times, that would prove a whole lot. That would be something different. But nothing really changes as far as how we're kind of approaching it based on what happened last game, except that we just know it's, even though Dallas is at home, it's not an ideal spot just because he's their best player. He's getting worn down. He's dealing with all these nagging injuries, and Boston is relentlessly attacking him on the defensive end.
What say you, Sean? And by the way, Luka, 11 points of his finals average have come in the first quarter, and 6 assists a game. He's just under 2 assists per first quarter in these finals.
Yeah, he flat out is getting tired. We've talked about it a bunch coming down the stretch, between him getting attacked on defense and him just carrying the load on a 35-36% usage rate throughout the game on offense. He's just fading away towards the end of the game. A lot of shots that he would make typically in the first quarter, first half, he's missing in the second half. The portion here for Luka is that I'm kind of shocked at how shocked people are that he's not playing defense. Where have you guys been? Where's everybody been? The guy doesn't play defense. People are saying, why didn't he hedge, rotate, and close out? It's like he hasn't done that ever in his life. So that's the reason why he's not doing that. So yeah, I don't think there's an angle on Luka. As Raybon mentioned, the real angle is triple-double at right around plus 410 I've seen in the market, because that means he's coming up with 10 plus assists. And that means Dallas is competing in the game. If he's pushing 10 plus assists, Dallas probably wins the game. He's going to rebound. He's going to score 10 plus points probably in the first quarter. So if he, the angle there, if I were going to bet Dallas, I would have to peek at Luka on a triple-double, because that means he's creating shots for others and they're knocking them down.
All right. There's your Luka outlook for game 4 and possibly the rest of the series. Let's wrap. Each of you have a best bet for tonight's game 4. Raybon, you first.
Hey, let's just keep it simple. I mean, I've loved Boston all series. I thought they were the better team, so let's just take the points with Boston. Looks like you can get a +1 out there. Listen, Boston's had the better shot quality all series long, even in that road game in Dallas in game 3, where 57%, over 57% of Boston's field goal attempts were considered open or wide open by NBA tracking data, whereas only 42% of the Mavericks field goal attempts were open or wide open. So Boston contesting a whole lot more, even without KP on the floor in that game 3. For the series, Boston getting open looks 57% of the time, Dallas just 46% of the time. So, it's kind of, that's what the eye test shows. It's Dallas. It's not just that Dallas is missing more shots, and Dallas has missed some open shots, but generally speaking, Boston's making the guys they want take those shots, take them. And, even with Kyrie coming up big, even with Dallas going on just a ridiculous run in that fourth quarter of game 3, Dallas still comes up on the short end of the stick at home. I think they were down, 16, 18 points at one point in the second half. I mean, Boston's a better team, and I already mentioned Luka getting worn down. 61 attempts, Boston against Luka, 19 more than against any other Maverick. So he's playing defense or not playing defense, whatever you want to call it. And Brendan, as you alluded to, 19 points per game, 54% shooting for Luka in the first half. Second half of these games, under 11 points per game on just under 39% from the field. That's not going to cut it. And I don't see how it gets better with about 48 hours or less, between tip-offs.
2.7 points in the fourth quarter. That is staggering.
How many fouls?
I can pull it up.
He's literally exhausted. He's exhausted when it gets to the fourth quarter. He is absolutely out of gas across the board.
1.3 to lead the Mavericks. 1.3 fouls per fourth quarter in the series.
Thank you, sir. That was impressive how you came up with that.
Well, I had it up over here,
Man, Glasheen's always prepared, baby. Come on, man. I see. Give him another question.
No more follow-ups for Raybon, because I heard you guys go too long on these segments.
The callback.
Celtics have held the Mavs, Sean, under 100 points in all 3 games, but you're going to head to the other side in terms of a point total, a Celtics team total. Why?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. Celtics team total over 105.5. They went over in 2 of the 3 games in the finals, and the one they didn't, they scored 105. I believe there's a lot more meat left on the bone offensively for the Boston Celtics. They've had big spurts in game 1, game 3 in the third quarter, but they haven't been evenly, they haven't had a streamlined offensive performance throughout 4 quarters. I think there's definitely room to grow there. Raybon mentioned it. Open looks 57% of the time. This is just a horrific matchup for the Dallas Mavericks. Also, a note from Matt Moore: when the team clinches in 4 or 5 games, the team total is over 5-3. I think there's also multiple ways to get over on this number. Mentally, if the Mavs are cooked, they might end up just folding up coming down the stretch. And offensively, Boston leans on them and goes over. If this is competitive, if Dallas shows up and is better offensively, I think this goes over as well. I like the Celtics to win, but I'll take the team total over 105.5.
Okay, 107, 105, 106. There are 3 totals in the 3 wins to this stage. Chris Raybon, Sean Little, follow those guys in the Action app. If the NBA season is over tonight, thanks for your coverage all year long, gents. It was fun.
It was always a pleasure.
Thanks, BG.
All right. All right, we'll stay on the hardwood and we'll look at the WNBA, a couple of games tonight, including the Mystics and the Sky. This one's on Ion tonight, 7:30, Ion doubleheader. Chicago is a short favorite heading in. Washington coming off its first win of the season over the Atlanta Dream. Sean Koerner is joining us, and we were just chatting before we got started here. You're feeling good about the Mystics, and even though they just won their first game, they have been playing well. Why? A couple of ways you want to back Washington tonight.
I mean, first of all, define feeling good. I mean, I'm taking the Mystics.
Yeah, 1-12 for them. They're not feeling great, understandably.
Right. Yeah, but I do.
Sean, you.
I do. Yes, I do like them plus 2.5 tonight, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, the Mystics are probably the worst team in the league right now in my power ratings without Brittany Sykes and Shakira Austin in the lineup. But they have been trending up recently. They're coming off their first win, as you alluded to, and the game before that, they nearly pulled off the upset at New York. So they are trending up. You know, they're giving max effort every night. They're also coming off a brutal stretch in their schedule where 7 of their last 10 games have been on the road, and one of those home games they had was on the tail end of a back-to-back. So their schedule has not been kind recently. They're on a few days rest at home here against a team that I can't say that they're much better than the Mystics. I consider the Sky, you know, one of the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the league right now. And they might be a little bit overrated coming in this game. They played 7 out of their last 8 games at home. So, you know, while they've been kind of trending up, I think this is certainly a letdown spot for them. And I projected this closer to a pick'em. So the fact that we're getting a couple and a half points here, you know, I couldn't pass up. So, yeah, give me the Mystics plus 2.5 here. Plus, there's a player on the Mystics I think is worth investing in right now, and that's Aaliyah Edwards. To go over 10.5 points, you can get it at minus 110. You know, she was the number 6 pick in this year's draft, and she's been trending up quite a bit lately. She scored double digits in 3 of the last 5 games. She's been asked to really step up with Shakira Austin, you know, hip injury keeping out of the lineup the last 5 or 6 games. And this might actually be the perfect matchup for her to just go off. The Sky allowed the most points per game on shots inside 5 feet. That's where Edwards lives. Plus, she's really good at getting to the free throw line too, and that's when the Sky get in trouble inside, they just tend to foul, and they send their opponents to the line at the 3rd highest rate. So I think she'll be getting the line at a high rate here as well. And like I alluded to, I'm taking the Mystics plus 2.5. So I think this will be a rare close game for the Mystics where she's in there until the final buzzer. So she should play around her max minutes of around 30, 32 minutes, somewhere around there. So I'm projecting her closer to 12 points with about a 62% chance to clear 10.5. Plus, if you look at FanDuel, they have those alt point markets. I also like her to score 15 plus points at plus 320. Worth sprinkling some on there because I'm projecting that closer to plus 250. But I think this is a great spot for her to break out tonight.
Okay, very good. Let's move to the diamond, Major League Baseball. K-prop, are we doing I buried the lead, the hat switch. That was graceful. Do you practice that before you come on?
No.
Okay, just a question. It was very good, very well done. This is live. It's not quite television, but that was very good. So we've transitioned. Sean just did it for us. Okay, let's go to the diamond. K-prop, and then a guy to lead the day in strikeouts.
No, that market's already off the board. We had an early game today, so not attacking that. I have 2 K-props for you though. The first one is Mackenzie Gore of the Nationals to go under 6.5 strikeouts facing the Marlins today. And, you know, I've always thought Gore has ace-like stuff, and he's having, you know, a breakout season this year. So he's not really a pitcher I'm dying to fade, especially against the Marlins. But I am showing decent value on him staying under this number. And, you know, the Marlins should be able to send up around 8 right-handed hitters against the Southpaw today. And Gore's top strikeout pitch against right-handed batters is his curveball. And I was doing some diving on pitch types, and I noticed the Marlins are actually really good against curveballs compared to all other pitches. They have the 3rd lowest strikeout rate against curveballs this year. So that's actually one of the tougher pitches to strike him out on. And, you know, when it comes to Gore, if you look at his 2 worst starts this season against the Mets and Blue Jays, both those teams fit that profile. That, the curveball is the toughest pitch to strike out both teams with. He gave up 6 runs in both games and averaged 3 strikeouts. So the Marlins fit that bill to a T. And now I am not saying that the Marlins are going to score 6 runs tonight. I'm also not saying they're going to strike out 3 times, but I do think I'm projecting, 6 strikeouts is the most likely outcome. So I'm projecting him to stay under this around 63% of the time. But I think just given their consistency making contact with curveballs, this is going to be a tougher number for him to clear.
Okay. And your second one, please.
Yeah, we got an over here. Zach Littell of the Rays.
Sean Koerner on an over? What?
I don't know. Oh, yeah. No, this happens quite a bit. But these are always way more fun, especially when you get a plus number. But Littell's prop is at 4.5. You can get the over around plus 115 right now against the Braves. And this is an interesting matchup because Littell's approach is to, try to get ahead in the count. He rarely walks hitters, rarely gets deep in the count. Hitters are up there swinging, and the Braves kind of play right into that. They swing at the 3rd highest rate in the league. It also means he should be able to get them to chase pitches outside of the zone. He does get hitters to chase. So if they're up there swinging, he might throw Arizona a bit more here. And the key is just to get to 2 strike counts. And I think the best way for him to do that, and this will be a fun thing to root for, is foul balls. He tends to get hitters to foul off pitches at a high rate, and the Braves they hit foul balls at the 3rd highest rate. So I think, you get 1 or 2 foul balls in a bat quickly. They're at a 1-2, 0-2 count. He does have a pretty nasty fastball split combo that he likes to use in those situations, and the Braves have a top 4 whiff rate against both pitches. So I think, even if they do make contact early in the count, that'll allow him to kind of churn through the lineup a few times. So I think there's a lot of outs for him to clear 4.5 strikeouts. That's why I'm projecting him to clear it around 60% of the time. So again, we're getting a plus number here, which, offers even more value on a prop like this.
Zach Littell over, Mackenzie Gore under. Sean Koerner, thanks for stopping by the show. And will you change your hat again when you leave this call?
Well, I don't know. I'll still rock the Braves hat. I want, got to channel them fouling off a ton of pitches. So I'm going to keep this on until the Littell prop clears.
I'm just trying to understand.
Kind of a rally cap.
There you go.
It's a rally cap. I was a kooky relief pitcher in high school, so I'm superstitious and things like that. That's really what it's all about.
Okay. I'm just curious what the rest of your day might look like. You have a great weekend, my friend. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's check in on the ice. The Stanley Cup Final resumes Saturday night. 3-0 series lead for the Florida Panthers. Here are some numbers to know as it pertains to teams down 3-0. Well, 20 have ended in sweeps. 25 of the 28 have ended in no more than 5 games. Only one team has ever come back from 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. Here are 2 guys that can chime in to see if the Oilers have any life on Saturday. Tim Kalinowski, Nick Martin. They also contribute to the Line Change podcast, part of our Action Network podcast family. Okay, I'll go to you first, Tim. Are the Oilers going to get swept here, or can Edmonton squeeze one out on Saturday?
It doesn't look good, Glash. I made the comparison a number of times over on Line Change last night when we recorded that. It's like when you're watching a tennis match and they're trying to pull off an upset like an Alcaraz or a Nadal, and then they start cramping up and you're like, okay, this guy's got no chance, right? He can't get his first serve in. Like, Edmonton has tried everything, but they are the definition of a team on the ropes. Florida has just squeezed them in every which way. And you're seeing that reflected in the way that the Oilers' top dogs haven't been able to get going. So I don't have a lot of faith that we are going to see a comeback, maybe one game or so. But if you are looking to get into betting into that of Edmonton having a chance, or you get to say to yourself, look, one more bet or two before I don't have to bet the NHL until next October, you could look at McDavid or Draisaitl, each of these guys are 30-1 to lead the series in goals. So if this thing does go more games, the window's open there. Evan Rodriguez leads the series in goals. He has 3. These guys have 0, but that's not necessarily a stranglehold on that market. And you could look at Barkov as well, who has 1 goal. He'd be 15-1. So again, little flyers here if you have any faith in the Oilers, or you just, want to say one more ticket, one more chance to take the ride.
For the record, I was having a sip of water. This is not a Stanley. That was not intentional. Okay, it's not one of those Stanley things that people.
I got mine.
I mean, look at the advertising we do on this program. Sponsorships are available. Nick Martin, let's turn to you. Any life for Edmonton, who is favored? It's basically a pick 'em, but -118, -120 on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing. They are favored. So obviously you have to say they have some life. And a big part of that is what continues to be a strong underlying profile. A big part of these odds are, odds makers pouring millions of dollars into making power rankings, which revolve a lot off of teams' underlying profiles. In the series, the Oilers have more of the chances. But what's been pretty clear is that I think the chances that the Panthers are getting going the other way are much better, and they're getting a lot out of very little offensive zone time. It feels like these Oilers D-men are just completely out of gas, and they're going to continue to be really prone to just making critical mistakes. And on top of that, Bobrovsky, he's been excellent in this series. And it feels like the Panthers are in a pretty good rhythm of just giving up the chances that they're kind of content with. So Florida's done a really good job of bending but not breaking. I think in game 3, you could see that when it got into a tied game script, Florida really just took over again, worked their way back up into a really favorable lead. And then the Oilers started getting chances again, obviously, throughout the third when it was 4-1 and they got up to 4-3. So yeah, I mean, there's some positives to point to for the Oilers, but it feels like at this point they're out of gas and their D-core is just getting exposed. I think their top stars are kind of doing all they can do, but they're fighting an uphill battle for sure. So yeah, I mean, it feels kind of crazy at this point that the Panthers are an underdog in game 4. I can't see wanting to bet the Oilers. I don't think any side or total looks, that appealing to me, honestly, in this game, but I do think that it's hard to make an argument why the Oilers can be so much better that they deserve to be a favorite in game 4.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so again, the Oilers are favored and the total's at 5.5 for game number 4 in Edmonton. Let's turn our attention to the Conn Smythe Trophy. And look, it's fascinating because the Oilers are +16 for shots in the series, and Bobrovsky is the favorite at -475 right now to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Potential, I'll go to Nick here first. Any potential angle here, Nick, that you could see yourself, Tim kind of hinted at this, if the series is somehow extended, is there an avenue for somebody else to swoop in here?
Well, I'm hoping that Barkov doesn't necessarily even need to swoop. I'm just hoping that these odds are a little off. Part of me thinks I would still bet Barkov. I have a big position on Barkov. We gave him out at online change at the start of the playoffs. I'm biased in this argument. It's safe to say that. But I do think that you can read whatever power rankings you want. And entering this series, everyone had Barkov as the consensus Conn Smythe. Him and McDavid, obviously. And McDavid's out of the mix given the way the series has gone. But I do think that this is way too much waiting on Bobrovsky having an unreal 3-game run. Yes, he's been really good. He's been excellent. He won game 1 for them. There's no denying that. But what I think is happening is obviously this is the most high profile of any of this series. People are taking the way this series has gone and acting like this is the way that the rest of the playoffs went in Florida. This isn't the way the rest of the playoffs went. The rest of the way the playoffs went, Barkov was the clear MVP. He's given up next to nothing to Kucherov, Pasternak, Zibanejad, McDavid, Draisaitl. All these guys have 0 goals at even strength with him on the ice. Like Barkov's completely shut down some of the best players in the game. And that's not even getting into the fact that he's been above a point per game player in this playoffs. So I think for me, the award's supposed to be voted on the whole postseason. And to say that Bobrovsky deserves to be this heavy of a favorite is putting insane weighting on a 3-game sample. And this series is going to probably end up being the Panthers' easiest series to win, right? So I think it's off. I hope Bobrovsky's in with a better chance than these odds suggest. I don't really know what to trust with these media guys. I did read an article today that had 3 voters' takes, and while they didn't say where they were voting, the article in general did kind of give a really 50-50 take that it was pretty close between Barkov and Bobrovsky, which I think makes sense. I think it deserves to be close between them. So, that's a long-winded answer that I think Barkov's probably a little long, but it's a bit of a guessing game to see where the media are actually going to take it.
Sounds to me like there is an angle for some swoopage here for Barkov at plus 475. Tim, what say you?
Yeah, the problem is we're all tangled up in Conn Smythe futures already. And if you've been following, us our podcast, then you likely are as well. But I think for sure, I bet McDavid before the series, and then I bet him again after game 1 is kind of a hedge for my Panthers ticket. But I think if you just didn't look at the odds and you just said to yourself, I actually, who's the Conn Smythe? You'd be like, it's probably between Barkov and Bobrovsky. And then you looked at the odds and saw the line, you'd say, oh, I didn't expect it to look like that. And so what you have to take away from that is, do the books pricing this in a way that I don't know? Do they have a better feel for what the voters are doing? Because that to me is not really what my eyes are totally telling me. And make no mistake about it, Bobrovsky has been really good, but Barkov also plays this. He's so sound defensively that it's almost quiet, right? And it goes unnoticed at times. That's why it's a lot of arguments about, is he underrated? How many times can we say he's underrated before he's just rated? That's kind of the story with Barkov there. So yeah, if I had no position at all, clean slate, I'd bet Barkov on a little flyer here.
You guys have been covering this whole series over on the podcast. Bobrovsky. I have to, tongue twister. Speaking of being tangled, for crying out loud, I kind of hope this ends Saturday because I'm sick of saying his name.
Just Bob, Glash. Just Bob. You can just do
I was
Bob.
going to say, you can do just Bob.
Is that a thing? Okay.
Yeah, just
Thank
Bob.
Yeah,
All right,
last. Oh, sorry. I was going to say the last point that I'm going to slide out there, Tim, that is comparable to yours. And I think it applies to the way that the voting is supposed to go on this award. If you flipped the order of these series, I think you could put this series, if you put this as the 3rd round, 2nd round, 1st round, I think Barkov walks into this award. Like, I really do feel like this has just been people's eyes open for the Cup Final, which is how it's obviously going to be. And that's just completely restructured everyone's viewpoint. So that's my beef on this. I'm grumpy about the situation, but hopefully we get a good resolution.
So Nick Martin's already teased that he does not have a strong feeling on a side or the total. Tim, you are willing to dabble on the total. What direction?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over here, 5.5. I took it in game 3, and really what my handicap is when you can, I guess, count on a really desperate Oilers team, that leads to more variance in terms of the total, because obviously when they press like they're capable of doing, they have the star power to put the puck in the net. And then that also opens them up on the other side. We obviously know that their defense situation isn't great. They've had guys on the ice for too long, have played monster minutes that they seem out of gas, of the likes of Ekholm and Bouchard. And then, again, you get chances the other way going against the group of CC and Nurse. So I just think hockey players, and I mean this in the most endearing way, they're idiots. By the time the puck drops on Saturday night, the Oilers are going to convince themselves that they can at least win tonight. They can at least win Saturday night. They can at least win the first period, something like that. So I don't think they're just going to roll over here, and that could lead to some variance with the score, empty netters. Maybe if Florida takes a lead, then you see the win come out of the sail. So yeah, I like a little play on the over here. And again, if I'm wrong, I don't have to see you guys ever again, and Florida wins, and goodbye, right? Like everyone will forget by October.
Yeah. Grumpy Gills, Nick, what do we, if this is over Saturday, what happens to you? Do you just fall off the face of the earth and we don't talk to you again for a while?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm asking. I'm not trying to be
Yeah, no, I mean, I got some vacations planned for June, and we're going to do a draft show, which I'm really excited about on Line Change. Okay. So there'll be some stuff, but yeah, I mean, if this thing ends in 4, it's going to be a tough final for myself. It's going to be a dull final for hockey fans. So yeah,
we're wrapping this up. Do you want to give Florida as a pick, or are you just staying away?
Yeah, I do think at plus 106, you've got some value. I feel like at this point, we've seen the series. It's hard to make a case for them. Okay, so at plus 100, I would stop, I should say. And, I guess the other thing is if Barkov wins this Conn Smythe, I'm not going to go away quietly. I'll be getting out there, making sure everyone knows that we nailed that. So,
good.
Finish strong for us, Barky.
All right. And if not, back for the draft, and you'll be a whole new man by then. You'll be cleansed.
100%.
Hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. NBA Finals 3-0, Stanley Cup Final 3-0. Boring. Anyway.
Yeah.
Tim Kalinowski, Nick Martin, find those guys on a line change pod. Even if the season ends on Saturday, those guys will keep busy. NHL draft coming very soon. Thanks, gents, for stopping by. And cheer up, Nick.
Happy Friday, Glash.
The Euros have arrived, underway as we speak. Germany a 2-0 lead. As group play is underway. Germany plus 440 to come out of the field. England and France, your favorites. Portugal and Spain file in next. As it pertains to tomorrow's action on the pitch, 9 o'clock Eastern in the morning, 12 Eastern, and then at 3 Eastern, Nick Giffen joins us now on GDD. Let's go right in order, my friend. As we break down the Euros, you've got a couple of angles in Hungary, Switzerland. What do you got?
Yeah, so 2 bets here, both kind of, using the same reasoning here. And the main line of reasoning is what I would call the Euros luck rankings, right? I do the NFL luck rankings, Glash, and we always talk about those. But if we look at the qualifiers, Switzerland had a plus 11 goal differential in the qualifiers, but their expected goal differential was plus 20. So they actually were unlucky by about 9 goals in terms of goal differential. And on the other side, Hungary had a plus 9 goal differential versus just around 4 expected goal differentials. They were lucky by about 5 goals. So that luck ranking difference, if you will, especially in the qualifiers, is where my 2 bets will come from. Also, the Swiss, they just have more overall talent if you look at things like payrolls and stuff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So together, if we look at the luck rankings and the fact that I think Switzerland's defense is a bit underrated here, I'm going to take Switzerland to win this game. You can get it like plus 120, plus 125. I have them favored to win, so anything plus money here is fine. And because I think the Swiss defense is underrated a little bit, I'm going to go with the exact score. Switzerland 2, Hungary 0. You can get that at 10-1. I have this happening about 11.5% of the time in that neighborhood. So 10-1, great value there on an exact score of 2-0 Switzerland.
Football luck rankings, it works. Interchangeable. It's great. Let's go to Spain and Croatia. How do you break this one down?
Yeah, so instead of just picking one exact score, I'm going to pick the correct score combination. So either a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw. You can get that, I think, plus 280. It was plus 290. I think it moved down to plus 280 now. But I'm definitely still showing value on that simply because I'm showing the value on the under here between Spain and Croatia. I know if you're in the Action Network Discord, and shout outs to those of you in the Action Network Discord that are watching here, we talked about how Group B really like as the lowest scoring group. And we've got 2 great defenses in Spain and Croatia. Spain is second in our defensive power ratings among the 24 teams in this tournament. And Croatia themselves only allowed 0.58 expected goals per game in qualifying. So 2 really stingy defenses here. And Spain has also been a bit lucky offensively. They scored 25 times in qualifying versus 18.1 expected goals. And while we do expect a good offense to come in above expected goals as Spain, I still think it was a little bit too much here. So that should help narrow the gap between these 2 teams. Obviously Spain is favored, but I think it's probably a little closer than expected. Obviously rosters change and stuff, but Croatia, always a perennially strong international side, having made the top 3 in each of the last 2 World Cups. And just always a great footballing nation here. So that means I'm showing value on the draw as well, given I do have Croatia a little closer to Spain than I think market consensus. So when we're showing value on the under and on a draw, let's take the 0-0 and 1-1 draw combination.
All right. And we'll wrap with Italy and Albania.
Yeah, this is another one where we have 2 strong defenses here in Group B. The Italians always known for their defense, but Albania, a surprisingly stingy defense. So I'm going with under 2.5 here at minus 135. Albania allowed just 4 goals in all of qualifying. And while that did come a little bit under expectation, so we should expect some regression, it's still really strong, allowing just 1 goal expected per game in qualifying. Meanwhile, Albania, they scored just under a goal per game in terms of expected goals, I should say, in qualifying. And these were all against teams worse than Italy is defensively. So it's going to be a struggle for Albania to score. So, you know, I do think this is a spot where Albania has a very strong chance of getting shut out, but because their defense is good enough, I think they can hold the Italians to under 3 goals. So expect a defensive battle here. I have this staying under 2.5, a little over 60% of the time. So, you know, got a bet here for Italy versus Albania, going with another under.
All right, Nick Giffen on the Euros now have arrived and are underway. So next couple weeks, we look forward to having you for some more, Nick. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely. And check out actionnetwork.com every day for all my projections and bets for every game.
Beautiful. In the app as well, Nick Giffen will be there for you. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Remember, any picks that are given out here on the show, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action Network app. The account does it for you, so you don't have to. That's it for our Friday edition of GDD. We are back next Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Brendan Glasheen in for Maria Marino today. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are watching there, and follow along all of our great contributors over in the Action Network app. You'll have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the dads, too, this coming Sunday. We'll see you next week.